So, our first story today has to do with a follow-up to a story that we did in episode 1 about New Mexico Judge Joel Cano resigning. He voluntarily resigned after a migrant was arrested at his house, and now the Trump administration has arrested him. So, we're gonna follow up and see what we can learn here. So, in our ground news agitator here, it says former New Mexico judge and wife was arrested after investigation into an alleged gang member. And on our bias distribution here, you can see we've got a mostly right, mostly center, but more right than left reporting, with 43% center, 41% right, and only 16% of the sources reporting considered being left. So it says that our factuality rating is 67%, so that's good. And then I pulled up a article from CNN already because I pulled these all up last night. And in the morning, you get so many more articles that the agitator doesn't show necessarily like where my story is. So here we got CNN, leans left, very high factuality, owned by Warner Brothers Discovery. And we will come over here and read the article. So, former New Mexico judge and wife arrested on charges of tampering with evidence linked to suspected Tren de Aragua member. Former magistrate judge of Dona Ana County, New Mexico, and his wife are accused of tampering with evidence linked to the arrest of an undocumented migrant suspected of being a member of the Venezuelan gang Tren de Aragua, according to 2 criminal complaints filed Monday. Former Dona Ana County Magistrate Judge Jose Luis Cano, also known as Joel Cano, is facing federal charges of tampering with evidence, and his wife Nancy Cano was charged with the conspiracy to tamper with evidence. How do you get charged with conspiracy to tamper with evidence? That seems silly. CNN has reached out to their attorneys for comment. The migrant, Christian Ortega Lopez, is a Venezuelan who was charged earlier this year with unlawful possession of a firearm or ammunition, court documents show. So did this whole thing kind of spur from this guy being arrested with a gun? That's what I'm trying to find out, because I've read a lot about this story. This seems to be kind of like a hot button story in the United States right now. You've got this judge and another judge in another state being arrested, which is kind of unprecedented in the United States. We don't typically go around arresting judges. So I may do a little bit of a deep dive here in the future on this and try to find out exactly what started this and where this all really came from, because I find this whole thing kind of super interesting, honestly. Not for a good reason, but like, what's going on here, you know? Homeland Security Investigations launched an investigation into Ortega Lopez in January after receiving an anonymous tip accusing him of living with other undocumented migrants at a home owned by Nancy and Jose Cano in Las Cruces and carrying firearms, the complaint states. So an anonymous complaint, huh? U.S. Attorney and former lobbyist U.S. Attorney General and former lobbyist Pam Bondi told Fox News Friday authorities got a tip the migrant had been living with a judge. This is the last person we want in our country, nor will we ever tolerate a judge or anyone else harboring them, she said. This seems like executive branch intimidation. Executive branch intimidation to me. That's really what it seems like. This seems like a message from the Trump administration saying, hey, get in line or we'll find a reason to throw you in jail. Ortega Lopez had posted photos and videos on Facebook showing him at what appears to be a shooting range in Las Cruces and observed to be holding handguns or assault-style rifles. What's an assault-style rifle? Is it a semi-automatic rifle? Is that what you're talking about? According to the complaint against him. Investigators said they identified tattoos, clothing, and hand gestures commonly associated with Tren de Aragua in the photos and videos posted online by Ortega Lopez, saying this provides strong evidence of Christian Ortega's potential connection to the gang, according to the criminal complaint. So he throws up some gang signs in a picture, and that's enough to arrest him. That's enough to assume that he's a member of the gang. So I don't know, man. Do you have evidence of gang activity happening in the United States? I mean, he was at a shooting range. Most people that are like criminals, like hardened criminals, aren't just going to go out to a gun range, you know, where there are other law-abiding citizens legally using their guns. That's what seems really strange to me, is that this guy was photographed at a gun range. Like I said, criminals don't typically hang out at gun ranges in my experience, but what do I know? Tren de Aragua is a criminal gang that originated in Venezuelan prisons and now operates in the United States. The gang has been linked to human trafficking and other crimes targeting migrants, as well as money laundering, drug smuggling, kidnapping, and extortion, according to the U.S. Department of Treasury's Office of Foreign Asset Control. The former judge staunchly denied any wrongdoing and maintained he had no prior knowledge of Ortega Lopez's ties to the Tren de Aragua gang or of the other two men associated with him, and defended his decision to allow the men to stay at his property, CNN affiliate KOAT reported, citing a 23-page letter previously submitted by the New Mexico Supreme Court. Let me be as crystal clear as possible, Jose Luis Cano wrote, KOAT reported. The very first time I ever heard the men could possibly have any association with Tren de Aragua was when I was informed of that by the agents on the day of the raid. So he had no idea that these men could have any gang affiliation until the law enforcement came to bust his door down and arrest the guy. So I don't know. Two search warrants were executed on February 28th, with one location being the Cano's home, and Ortega Lopez was ultimately arrested and charged, the complaint state. Investigators found 3 cell phones belonging to Ortega Lopez at the Cano home, while 4 firearms were found at separate residences that were also searched, according to the complaints. A phone call Ortega Lopez made at the time of his arrest, investigators believe he might have had another cell phone, the documents show. On April 22nd, investigators requested any recorded jail calls, messages, videos, and deposits pertaining to Ortega. Okay, so let's talk about this for a little bit. We're not quite through the article here, I don't think. We've got a little bit left to go. But I do want to say that these are serious charges. Tampering with evidence, trying to... I understand what's going on. I understand that people want to resist, that people are being thrown out of the country without due process, and that people want to stand up. I don't necessarily know that a judge's place is to be involved with tampering evidence, and because in order to be a judge, you are supposed to be held to a standard above the public. You are supposed to be held to, and it's your job to interpret the law. It's not your job to enforce it. I don't know, man. This is such a hot button topic, and it's really hard to have a point of view that respects the law and also respects being human and having humanity and sympathy for other people, being empathetic. I don't personally know how to feel about this. I'm torn between people shouldn't have to be in fear of getting thrown out of the country if they're going through the process of trying to become a legal citizen, while at the same time, a judge should know better than to be involved with tampering with evidence and obstructing justice and things like that. I understand that he resigned, but maybe if he wanted to take a stance against, I don't know. I'm not the authority on this, so I shouldn't try to pretend like my opinion is going to have any kind of bearing on this. I'm just bringing you the information, trying to present it to you in the most unbiased way that I can. Obviously, I have my own personal biases, though. So let's go ahead and get through this article and see what else is going on. So they discovered 2 video messages between Nancy Cano, who is the judge's wife, again, and Ortega Lopez, who is the migrant who was arrested, which showed a 4th phone and the 2 discussing how to potentially delete Ortega Lopez's Facebook accounts. The complaint against Nancy Cano states, not a good look. Not gonna lie about that. This prompted investigators to execute a warrant at the Cano property Thursday, looking for another phone owned by Ortega Lopez, as well as a phone owned by Nancy Cano, according to the complaint. During the search, Jose Luis Cano, the judge, agreed to speak with investigators and told them he destroyed Ortega Lopez's phone by smashing it with a hammer and discarding the remaining pieces in the city trash dumpster approximately 5 weeks ago. Adding he thought the phone contained videos or photos that would reflect negatively on Ortega Lopez, the complaint against him states. That's literally admitting to a crime. If you suspect something to be evidence and you destroy it, that is evidence tampering. I don't know how else to, like, I don't agree with what's going on, but that doesn't mean that I agree with the way that things are taking place, with the actions that this judge and his wife are taking. So I feel like I'm kind of like I'm a little bit on both sides of this. I don't know. When questioned further, the judge said the former judge said he destroyed the phone because CNN reached out to ICE and the U.S. Attorney General and former lobbyist's office for more information on the case. The arrest of Jose Luis Cano and Nancy Cano come after the former judge resigned of his role in March, according to court documents. On Tuesday, the New Mexico Supreme Court ordered Joel Cano never to hold or run for New Mexico judicial office in the future, the document stated. So, yeah, I guess we will continue to monitor this issue and see where it goes from here. And if there are any updates, we will bring them to you here on Nightly News This Morning.